Major League Baseball draft started last night. The first 2 rounds, LSU made history. Paul Skenes goes number 1 overall. Dylan Cruz goes number 2 overall to the Nationals. Ty Floyd goes 36th overall to the Reds. Grant Taylor, who we talked about probably getting drafted pretty high, went 51st overall. Who did Grant Taylor get drafted by?
White Sox.
White Sox, right? And then Trey Morgan goes 88th overall to the Rays.
Not much.
Trey Morgan goes today. Gavin Dugard goes today. Not Gavin Guidry. Don't freak out, everybody. There's a lot of guys still on the board that need to get drafted. That'll probably get drafted. I think they're in round 10 right now. They have 10 more rounds to go in the draft. I'd imagine the other guys that are draft eligible will be drafted here in the next 10 rounds before the draft is officially over. But LSU is the first school in the history of college baseball to have the number 1 and number 2 picks in the Major League Baseball draft. Paul Skenes goes number 1, which I think that is, listen, our friend Kylie McDaniel
did not call it.
Our friend?
Yeah. He if you watched the draft coverage, the draft coverage was great. They were talking about a lot of the guys that were going to get drafted that could have gotten drafted. The one thing that really bugged me was Kylie McDaniel said, there's one thing to say that a guy is going to go first overall based off of a deal they made, based off of a team's needs, based off of whatever. There's a completely different side of it saying that he's the best available. And so when nobody's been drafted, being the best available means you are the best player in the draft. I think everybody can admit that is not the case with Wyatt Langford. I think Wyatt Langford is a big leaguer. I think he's a great player. He went 4th overall to the Rangers. I think that he's going to have a magnificent career in Major League Baseball. But to say he is the top player on the board before the draft even starts, just because you maybe heard some rumors about him getting a lower than slot deal to go number 1 overall, to me that's dumb.
Or just because he had a better College World Series statistically than Dylan.
Yeah, whatever it is, right? And even if you want to argue that, okay, you like him better than Dylan Cruz, that's fine. Not going to be a better prospect than Paul Skenes. And Kyle Peterson said as much. It felt like Kyle Peterson on the stage, on the dais, was laughing at Kylie McDaniel significantly about, not just Kylie McDaniel, he was laughing at Eduardo too. Both those guys were a lot. I'm not a huge fan of both of them. I'm not saying they're bad people or bad at what they do. Some of the stuff they were saying, I didn't really agree with, and that's okay. That's why it's America. You can all have your opinions, believe it or not. But he was saying some things. I thought they went differently. I think the draft played out especially the first 5 picks, a lot like people had anticipated it playing out. With that, all that said,
hey, look, when you're in the business, you get burned.
It's not about being burned, dude. That's just, it's what he was saying, how he was saying it.
He thought he had on good authority, or he's a troll.
There's difference between having on good authority, he's going 1 overall, and saying that he's the best available. That's the qualm that I have.
Yeah, the best available is tough.
That's the issue I have with the whole thing, right? The draft, listen, they're trying their hardest to make the baseball draft entertaining. They're doing a better job. I think having it on the All-Star weekend.
They're doing a lot better.
Yes, it's huge. Like having it the Sunday of the All-Star break, where it's the only thing on TV, I think that's great. You probably should figure out some things to make it a little more interesting. These interviews about asking about grip and all that kind of stuff, just give me something more. Make it more entertaining somehow. I don't know how you do that.
It's not the time for tutorials. It's the time for entertainment.
Yes. Give me something more entertaining. But it's getting better. They're doing a lot better job of that. I think there needs to be some different restructuring of how you get paid. Baseball is the only sport.
Or Jay Johnson.
Jay Johnson was great. Actually,
yeah, I love that they did it at Lumen Field. That was awesome.
That's great. That's great for sure.
Baby steps.
My issue with the draft, though, is if you look at the NFL, you get drafted, you have a slot. Okay, boom, this is the contract you sign. Boom, this is the contract you sign. This is the contract you sign. Baseball, you have a slot, but it's not a strict slot. So you can go above or below it. You have a full pool of money to where you can go and draft these people. I'm like, why would you just not have an allotment? Everybody has an allotment of money. I guess it's based off of what I understand why they do it. but I wish they would do something different of as far as, all right, well, I'm going to draft the best player, number one, not the guy who I'm going to get the best deal from.
Hey, I'll say this too. I'm not really in the business of, like, I guess, embarrassing people, but correct me if I'm wrong, but there was guys that went in the compensation B round. And for those who don't know, it's first round, compensation round, second round, another compensation round,
God.
and then third through the rest of the
And
draft.
here's how compensation works, if you don't mind me
Go.
jumping in. So if you're a team that has a free agent, right, a guy who's a free agent, and you offer him a qualifying offer, which is the equivalent to the franchise tag in NFL, right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to make it a little
Makes
bit.
sense. Yeah, thank you.
So it's equivalent to the franchise tag
make
in the
sense.
NFL, right?
If like I'm 5.
If that player does not accept the qualifying offer, and goes to free agency and signs with another team, you get a compensation pick for that, right? And that's how sometimes you have 15 compensation picks. Sometimes you have 7, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how the compensation works. Okay, now continue.
If
You may continue.
Yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty positive there was some guys that went in the compensation B round who were present at the draft. Once again, I'm not in the business of like embarrassing people, but I do think one of those things that makes that a lot of people, whether we want to admit it or not, tune in and watch the NFL draft. It's not the main thing, but a lot of people tune in and watch it because there is intrigue to, here's the guys here. They still haven't gone. You want to see their reaction.
Yeah.
Pick in and pick out. There's guys that got drafted in that compensation B round that I really didn't know who they were. That's a different thing. But 2, I didn't know, they didn't show that they were there until they got picked.
Right.
And I think, hey, they're there. Put the spotlight on them. You asked them to come there. Put the spotlight on them.
Absolutely.
Make it a TV show.
Yeah.
That's why you have it on.
Yeah.
You know. And I think there's, like you said, there's some things they could have done different.
And that is better now than it was when we got drafted. When we got drafted, the draft was held in New York, right?
Yep.
But it wasn't like the NFL draft or anything like that. It was at the MLB Network studios where
It
you
was
needed
so
to go.
weird.
And it was like you had these people there for the draft, but like it was weird how they walked up. It just wasn't
Small stage.
It wasn't good.
They were trying to figure it out at that
Yes,
time.
exactly. And now they said, okay, we've moved the draft to the Sunday before the All-Star break, which is perfect because there's no night games there's no Sunday night games before the All-Star break because everybody needs the same amount of time to get to either the All-Star game or home, wherever they want to go. And so now you have a bigger stage, you have a bigger area, a cooler area for these players to go. So I think that was a step up. I think that, to Jared's point, they need to highlight these players more. I mean, look, the top 2 players in the draft were not there. The top 4 players in the draft were not there. 3. I think the high school outfielder was there. Maybe not, though.
Max Green.
No, Clark.
Max Clark.
Yeah.
And so
$4,000 plus 4,000 on it, just in case.
Yeah. And so that's, to me, like, that was a good thing, right? But it's just, and they're working through the kinks. I think that they are doing a lot better. It's more entertaining. Baseball just needs to figure out a way how to make this thing a little bit more national. Baseball's a regional sport, and they still make a ton of money, but it's just a little bit of a more regionalized than national.
It's so weird to me. It's almost like they realize they're last to the party in a lot of the entertainment stuff, but they don't want to seem like we're copycatting how everyone else is doing
But
it.
it's okay to copycat.
But at this point, like, hey, do what
That's
you
the
gotta
formula.
do.
Right.
Do what you gotta do. Like, you don't have to have the braggadocious part about, hey, we're doing it. I get it. Do it your own way, but get on board so you don't get left behind. In a way. You know what I mean? Like, there's a way to do it, and I think they're kind of missing on that a lot of times.
And a big point, I was reading an
baseball.
article. What's that?
It's very baseball.
Yeah, and a big point, someone made this in an article, a big thing is it's hard for fans to buy into the draft because you see these guys get drafted and you forget about them because they're in the minor leagues for 2 or 3 years. And so, like, they're not playing they're not in the limelight, they're not in the big leagues, they're on the big stage. So, like, you kind of lose a little bit of luster because you're not going to follow their career through the minor leagues. I mean, how many LSU guys have gotten drafted like, oh, perfect example. Jake Slaughter played at LSU, was on the 2017 team that they lost against Florida. He gets drafted, I don't even know when, but a little later. He is now in AAA with, is it the Nationals? I don't know who he's in AAA with, but he's in AAA.
Maybe the
Royals.
Royals or Rockies or something. I think.
Whatever it is. He's in AAA, and he's killing it. He has like 15 home runs at the break. Like, he is in a position to make it to the big leagues, and he has like 20 bags. Like, he's doing really, really, really well. But you forget because there's so many guys, and they've been in minor leagues for so long that you just kind of lose track of them, and that's kind of the issue with baseball.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
The Cubs.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah, and so that's the issue. But we're gonna get more in depth on that. We're running through these Heineken headlines. It is also another baseball heavy show. It's the baseball All-Star break. It's the draft.
What do you want?
There's a reason. What do you want from us? We are going to talk.
Trying to run away from it.
We got plenty. We got
crawling this back.
Yeah, we got plenty of time to talk. Look, I told y'all, but once the SEC meetings, coaches meetings are
in full force.
Yeah, that's when football is really gonna get. We're gonna get a good talking
Let's be honest about it. Like we can tell the truth, y'all. We're excited to talk about some Major League Baseball playoffs when it rolls around.
Yeah, of course. Baseball's always gonna be part of the show.
But don't get us wrong.
We're very excited.
Everybody
for
breathes some football.
Yes,
out here.
We're very excited about football, but in the spirit of the season, it's still baseball season, and so we're gonna run through these headlines. I mentioned about all the guys who have gotten drafted. One of the guys I did not mention, LSU signee Blake Mitchell, got drafted 8th overall by the Royals. He gone. He ain't coming, right? But there's a bunch of other recruits that we thought maybe if we were going to get drafted. It wasn't as top-heavy this year as it was in the years past, or last year in particular, but they have a lot of talented guys. They have a left-handed pitcher, Cam Johnson, who's been touching 100. If you follow Twitter at all, Frank Thomas had a big tweet about Cam Johnson because I guess Frank Thomas's son or maybe Frank Thomas coach Cam Johnson said after the day one he was confused as to why he hasn't gotten drafted yet. I would imagine being in the situation before that his number to sign was very high. And so maybe these teams didn't want to pay that much money, so he's fallen out the draft. Great for LSU. Seems like he's going to end up on campus. So he doesn't sign. Louisiana Player of the Year, Jake Brown, who we met in Omaha, great kid, has not signed. So it seems like they're all going to come to LSU. So LSU is going to be in a position next year where they're going to have a lot of young talent because don't forget, the number one recruiting class in the country last year came to LSU, and a lot of those guys are still on this team, and they're going to be vying for big-time at-bats and big-time roles on the team. And these guys are going to fit right in to that situation. So I think LSU puts themselves in a really good spot. There are some transfers that are about to be announced, I would imagine, here soon, especially after the draft when Jay kind of really knows where he's at as far as position player-wise and pitcher-wise and roster space-wise.
Being a pundit.
He's doing great. He is doing great.
Yeah. That man is tired.
Yeah. At a school like this, the truth of it is you're always going to recruit top end. You're always pretty much going to lose some top end guys. But the years that you're somehow able to keep more of these draft eligible guys usually ends up turning out good for you when it comes to creating a program and rolling it through.
Absolutely.
Because it's tough.
That's how you sustain it.
Yeah.
Right? Is you have these guys, you develop these young guys, and you have them for 3 years, 2 years, as opposed to having a guy transfer in for one.
Well, to that point before, I feel like we're kind of out the Heineken headlines right now.
Well, I got two more.
Okay, go ahead.
We're going to watch the Home Run Derby with everyone. So that's part of it. The Home Run Derby starts at 7. We put our bets in. We're going to talk about the guys that we think are going to win it. And the last thing is our friend Tyron Matthew comes out with his top 5 LSU players of all time. Patrick Peterson, Shaq, Dylan Cruz in there, Joe Burrow, and Chad Jones.
It's a pretty strong list right
He
there.
had a Chad. He mentioned Chad won a national championship in both. Our friend here, Jared Mitchell, did the exact same. Won in both. So Tyron is a fan of sports.
He is.
Obviously. He's not just a football guy.
He's more of a baseball fan, too, than people think.
Yeah,
He likes
absolutely.
baseball.
Absolutely. Tyron's he's a great ambassador for LSU. He is on the I'm going to be a coaching tour guy right now. He's on the tour. He's trying to make sure that but he's doing a really good job. He's been a great role model. He's doing everything that you would hope and dream that he would do after he got his second chance, and that's what he's doing. So that's the end of the Heineken headlines. So now go ahead, Lloyd. What were you going to say? Finish your
Oh, I was going to say, so whenever it comes to what kind of you talked about the draft process and high school players going to Major League Baseball or coming to college. Obviously, LSU is always in that conversation of guys they want to sign to come to school, but also are going to be in the draft conversation. I would imagine the Dylan Cruz angle of him being able to say, look, me going to college was the best thing that ever happened, right? Like, and LSU. And then you have the head coach of the 2023 national champions on the podium going, hey, this is the best thing that could have happened to him is coming to school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How much do you think that matters?
Matters.
Whenever,
It matters.
It may not be this year is what I was saying, but like 2024, 2025.
It matters. I'm glad you actually mentioned that because I do think,
Thank you.
not just for that reason, but I do think as
You like
so
the
once
glasses,
this
huh?
last
You like the
kind of
glasses?
I like it too. Especially that hair.
But I do think since this last CBA got signed and people are starting to be able to see that year in and year out these guys are getting drafted and it's for the top end guys. I want to say top end. Like you're literally seeing guys go today. I mean, right now we're in 2023. You are seeing numbers of 2021 draft guys in the big leagues right now.
Yeah.
That's for people that don't understand, that's so unprecedented in baseball, and it hasn't really been a thing. And I think that's such a new thing in baseball. And I think stuff like that is going to make people see, bro, why on earth would I go mess around with
Right.
low A and rookie ball and high A ball? I'm going to LSU for 3 years. I'm going to whatever said big school for 3 years. That way I can come out and maybe spend a little time in high A and be on out of here.
Well, here's the deal. Like, Dylan Cruz is going to sign. And I also like the draft, the way it's set up, because it's on the All-Star break. So, remember when we signed, now our deadline was later. Let's just say we signed in June 6th of the draft. Let's say we signed 2 weeks later. So, June 20th, right? That means, okay, June 20th I signed. I'm going to go out there, get my physical, kind of get back in shape. They're going to send me to short season or wherever else I'm going to go play, and you're going to start playing baseball again.
Yeah.
Right? The way the draft's set up now, you don't get much time to go. Like you usually when you go and you sign, you're out. Right? Now there's not as much negotiating because there's only like maybe a 2-week window from the end of the draft till whenever the deadline is, I think. But it's during the All-Star break. And so now when you sign, these guys who get drafted and they agree, and let's just say they agree to terms in 2 days, then they don't have to go back until probably a week and a half because they have to finish the All-Star break. The team's got to get back on the road. The high round picks want to go at home so they can get the introduction, the whole deal. So I think it gives these guys a lot of time to kind of adapt and take their time and say, okay, I got drafted, my life changed. Let me pack my stuff. Let me get ready to go. And then you come up, you kind of formulate your own plan. So I like that aspect of the draft too. Dylan Cruz is going to go. He's going to sign. He's going to play baseball this summer. He's going to play 2 months, a month and a half of professional baseball. And I would not be surprised if he started in high A.
I think he will. Like I think.
Yeah, like he's going to go start in high A, play really well for half a year, and if he balls out, the next year he'll be in double A. To start the season.
You
And
want me
that
to be
means he's on the fast track. He's on the elevator.
You want me to be honest with you? I really do think because of the way this thing is structured now, I think he goes to high A, and I think it's literally just for you to be playing. And I don't think it really is going to matter if he hits 400.
He's
or
going to start in double A
200.
next year.
He's going to go to double A next year. Like I really
Absolutely.
do think that that's where it's at. now.
Absolutely. And if he balls out in double A for the first 2-3 months, he'll be in triple A. If he balls out in triple A.
For like a month, too.
Yeah.
Like I could see it being. It's realistic right now to say he will be in high A. He will do whatever he will do in high A this year. He will start the year in double A next year. If he's balling through 55 games in double A, go up to triple A. Next thing you know, 26 games later in triple A, he's in the big league.
I said the majority of his time I think is going to be in double A.
Yeah.
And then if he balls out, gives up, balls out, he's in the big leagues.
Yeah. Yep.
100%
That's
agree.
real possible.
Because now there's penalty, another part of the compensation round. There's penalty if you try to hold these players back based off of service time.
Yep.
So the whole, hey, we're going to hold them back so they don't, they
So we
don't
keep
reach
them
free
longer.
agency.
So we keep them longer.
Right. You get penalized for that now. So if this guy is good and he's in the big leagues and you send him down for no reason, or you don't call him up for no reason or for the reason of keeping him away from free agency for an extra year, you get penalized for that. So you're seeing teams bring their prospects up.
Chris Bryant effect.
Yes.
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 I mean,
Exactly.
Chris Bryant was the one that was
First time I've ever noticed.
Well, it was the obvious.
Well, because
one.
he was the rookie of the year.
Yeah.
And everybody knew he should have been there even before he was ever there.
He had a great spring training.
He had a great spring training. They didn't make it there. He was still the rookie
And
of the
the
year.
deadline-
But this had been going on for
Yeah, and the last day that he had to get called up, he got called up.
Yeah.
So like they waited for, I think it was 15 days.
It was
On the
it was
16th
super
day, he
obvious.
got called up.
It was super obvious if you know the structure of it.
Yeah.
And the people that don't notice, the people that were like reporting on it that were not part of teams were the ones that were pointing out the timeline and the structure to everyone, so everyone kind of got an idea like, oh wow, that's really what goes on. That's
super
pretty
fucked.
ridiculous. Yeah. That's pretty ridiculous. Yeah. So
Yep.
that kind of put the light on it.
Yeah. So, but the way they've structured it is a little bit better. But to kind of put a bow on this conversation, like I expect Dylan Cruz to be on the elevator, like the super elevator, quickly to the big leagues. I expect Paul Skenes to be in the big leagues
Super elevator.
without even being in the minor. I don't think he needs to throw one inning in minor league.
Coach,
baseball.
I'm just telling you right now.
One like official inning. Like maybe like to get loose, like on the short season and shit where nothing counts.
We've said it already. Like, depending on where the Pirates continue to go, it's July 10th through August. Don't be surprised if you see him for 1 to 2 innings coming out of the pen in a black and gold uniform.
I'll tell you this: he is not going to start. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Which
Siri.
one?
Siri, you gotta chill.
He is not going to be a star. He won't start this year.
Yeah, that's what I said. 1 to 2 innings.
No, right.
Yeah.
I agree with you. So he's already thrown. This is the first year he's been a starter from day one to the end of the season, right? If you're a major league pitcher and you throw 200 innings, like that's the benchmark for like a really good starter. That means you're going to pitch every day.
That's the benchmark for a number 3 or 4 starter or better. Basically.
Yeah, like you want to get to 200 innings over that season. That means you stayed healthy. That means you threw deep into games. That means you got to 200 innings, right? Paul Skenes, not being a starter for a long time, now he's a starter. I think he's got to 120 innings maybe this year. And so he's already 80 innings away from that 200 inning mark, and this is the most he's ever thrown. So they're not going to waste him starting and not be able to have him in the postseason. So if he's going to pitch, it's going to be out the bullpen. At least that's what I think. Now, if they don't make the postseason, that's what I'm trying to look for. If they don't make the postseason, he is not going to pitch at all, I believe.
Yeah.
Now, Pirates are doing what the Pirates do. So they were in first place. Now Cincinnati got hot.
Cincinnati got super hot.
Milwaukee started playing better. Pittsburgh had a winning record for a while. They're now 41-49. They ain't making the playoffs.
Yeah. That's why I think there's a good chance that you may see. I don't know why. I just feel like what's the last negotiation date nowadays?
I don't know.
See, I think like you may see him be
Well, the
a
White
deadline
Sox
sign.
stink.
Oh yeah, I think you may see him be like a deadline sign, just to get him not being like in uniform on the field for as long, and they'll kind of see where it goes with it. But I can't imagine him topping, and it really doesn't matter where. I can't imagine him topping 150 innings this year total.
So the signing deadline is 5 p.m. on August 1st, or 14 days after the last day of the draft, whichever comes first. So this year is July 25th.
Yeah.
Is the deadline to sign.
Yeah.
So
Before the end of the month. Yeah.
Yeah. So these guys, they'll make their decision.
150 innings or less,
Paul
so wherever
Skenes-
that happens.
Paul Skenes ain't playing this year. They're gonna be
can
shut
see
down.
Unless it's playoffs.
They're not making the playoffs.
Okay, damn.
They're 41-49. They ain't making
They're
the playoffs.
8 under right now.
8 under 500. They're
That's what I'm
fourth in
talking
their
about,
division.